Thank you, Tamara. So quick housekeeping before we dive into everything. This is meant to be interactive, so I can see everyone using the chat. Thank you so much. Keep this going. I can see the chat and I will bring things up as we're talking. It's really important for us to be collaborative in this and start a discussion. Let's get the cameras on. I see lots of you have joined with camera, but don't forget to mute. I know we've got a crazy life going on in the background, so we can put a mute to that. And we are recording. This will be uploaded later for those of you who might have to jump off. Yep, got it, Sandy. I really appreciate you showing up here. Okay, so a little bit about Tamara and I. We formed Equine Assisted Way because we are so passionate about running businesses, the mindset that it takes in starting a business and running it successfully, and horses and the impact that they can have in people's lives. So we formed this to really help other businesses be really successful and to ultimately enable more horses to help people on a global scale. So it's really dear to our hearts. We do run our own separate programs in the locations that we're in, along with this. And our main goal is to really help everyone not hit burnout, run successful businesses. And most importantly, and this is kind of what we're talking about today, is stewarding your herd. So giveaway, please put your name in the chat if you haven't already. Today, we're going to be giving away, and this is your choice for the winner, the mentorship program or the equine communication series. Just a little tidbit here, the equine communication series is on sale right now and will be until the middle of the month here. So if you haven't already had a look at that, you download the app. The first one I think is free, like the first little video, and check it out. But the lucky winner today does have the chance to win it or a 1-hour mentorship session with either Tamara or myself. We're going to try and do the spin wheel at the end. Tamara is manning the spin wheel today, so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, don't forget to throw your name in the chat there to get entered into the draw. So today's round pen, we are going to talk about raising the bar and stewarding your horses and how to ensure that they truly love this work. And what do I mean by steward? Steward means to manage and look after to the highest level. So I'm going to be going over 3 steps on how you can do that in your herd, in your facility, and in your business. So I'm going to start off by telling you about this horse right here. Her name is Belle, and as many of you know, I buy horses from the auction mart, or they often end up here, and I use them in the program right away. She was purchased 1 bid above meat price, and her feet were really bad. She was underweight, and really wouldn't lift her head up for anything when she kind of first stepped off the trailer. And I had like kids grooming her, used her in my program, and I could just tell that something wasn't right. So I took her into the vet and did like an annual checkup, and you know, it opened up the conversation with somebody in the veterinary field about our industry and what we do. And she kind of said that she often sees, and she kind of went to assuming, right, oh, your horse does EAL, well, it's most likely going to have this, you know, you kind of put them through, like you rely on them to be bomb-proof in that, and you know, assuming like more therapeutic riding, you know, anyone can ride them, there's lots of people there, and they just kind of go around. And I really took it as an opportunity to say, well, actually, no, I really don't do that in my program. And I understood about how, you know, what we do in this work can be stressful for the horses, and stress comes out like in physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, comes out in behavior, and horses show it in different ways. And it's something that she sees a lot of the time. There are a few other businesses in this area. There's a big therapeutic riding barn in this area, and she's one of the better vets in town that kind of handles the equine care. So it kind of opened up this conversation about stewardship, stewarding your herd. And it's something that Tamara and I always talk about as well. And we thought it'd be a great discussion to open up in the round pen too. So I'd love you to know, like, have you ever come across any professionals, whether it be farrier, vet, where you've met this same kind of conversation? So throw it in the chat. I would really love to know, have you run into this before? Is it something that you've spoken about before? Even with your friends, peers, other people in the industry, I'd love to know if you're experiencing this too. Give it a little minute here to get the chat going. You can see people typing. It's you know, our horses ultimately are a business. You always hear us say the horses are the gurus, right? They're the ones that show us through nonverbal communication, like how clients are showing up. Yeah. Tamara says, definitely in the vet world, the work we do is not always viewed as positive on horse stewardship. Yeah, for sure. It's something that we really are mindful of and need to be. There seems to be different trains of thought, even with fellow facilitators. Absolutely, Crystal. It really is. Lots of people liking that too. Yes, with others that ride and own barns, vets for sure, farriers as well. Yeah, so it's definitely a thing out there, and that's why I wanted to address it and talk about 3 steps that we can take in our businesses and with ourselves and in accountability on moving forward and protecting our horses. So we're all masters of nonverbal communication. This is what we work with on a daily basis when it comes to clients, right? We rely on what our horses are sending, are communicating with us and what their cues are. So I thought I would, oh, here, Amanda, I want to read out. My current facility owner has grave concern when I mentioned that I was going to begin EAL. That is exactly what she said. Oh, they get so burnt out, not healthy for them. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it is a thing, and I really want to address it and talk about it and give you the tools to kind of push back on those conversations that come up and say, you know what, this is what I do. I care about my horses so much, and being an advocate for them in that. So I'm really glad. Thanks for speaking up there, Amanda. It's definitely a thing. So we're masters of nonverbal communication, and I really want to empower you, just like I do my clients, that we've been reading this since the moment we were born. Before we had the words, we were picking up off of nonverbal communications from our mothers, our family, and the environments that we were in. And it doesn't take much to see subtle signs and start picking up off of those gut instincts that your horse is acting kind of out of character. There's something not right, or you start to notice an unwillingness there. You know, the horse always shows up to the gate, but he hasn't started doing that. He's kind of stopped. He's not hanging out with the herd, for example, or a general uninterest in sessions, you know, like, you know, you've got your horse with the halter on and they're standing there with the client and your horse is just not engaging. You know, these are key signs of there's something that needs to kind of be looked at here, and really digging into that nonverbal communication. You know, the story of Belle at the start, like I really couldn't put my finger on what was happening with her, but there was a gut instinct, like there's something not going on here. So I'd love to know, has this happened to you with your horses? Has there been a change when you started doing this work? Did you notice any of these things? And we're really going to be digging into how to handle them too. And when I talk about nonverbal communication, I really want to emphasize like the change in your horse's behavior. You know, if your horse is, you know, that they sometimes are hard to halter, and that's normal, right? Like this is a change in behavior. There's something not quite right. That's the first thing that you kind of pick up off of when you work with your horses on a daily basis. So I'm going to bring Tamara in here real quick to tell you guys a story about what we're talking about. I think it's a gut instinct that you have. I know all of us have had that. We know our horses more than anyone else does. So it's really important that you stand by that. So Tamara, I'm going to pass it over to you here and let's hear your story.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much, Jess, and welcome everyone. I love the Round Pen Live. It's probably my favorite thing that we actually do. And it's why we started the round pen. It was that place to be able to, to be able to have chats and round pens, and it all starts in the round pen, right? And so when you don't trust your gut, so the whole thing, just to back up a moment, kind of as Jessica said, nonverbal communication is body language, right? And it's kind of like you think about, you walk, maybe you go over to a friend's house, or you go somewhere and you run into someone that you know, and when you walk away and you feel like they were just off, there's something going on there. Okay, I empower each of you that you have that in yourself already, right? You have that, because a lot of people think, well, I'm not good with equine communication. It's body language. You know when something's off with someone. And so, yeah, so my story, so this is Thunder. And Thunder, he had only been with us for maybe 6-8 months at the time. And I had a group of social workers out. And it was right when COVID was really kind of at its max. And the group ended up, I think it was 12 of them, ended up being way more, let's just say, stressed in their world than any group I had even ever had at that point. And so the Thunder had a halter on, and he had someone, and I had kind of the horses everywhere, myself, one wrangler, and I kept having this feeling of, I got to get over there. I got to get over and check. And I had this gut, but I didn't act on it right away. Shamefully, I hate to admit that I didn't act on it right away because I was working with something else. It was just an excuse, right? I had an excuse. And so got over there. Long story short, we finished up. It was heavy, heavy, heavy. And when I got over there, that person, he was on a halter, and I very rarely, now I really don't halter horses. But he was on a halter, and she wasn't pulling him around or anything. She was just, dumping and dumping and dumping. And it was not his zone of genius. It was not a place he should have been working. She was very high risk, at risk, dumping on him. Again, I had this gut, something was going on, and didn't get over there fast enough. That night, Thunder colicked. Okay. And he colicked very, very badly. And I 100% probably should have lost him that night. And, it was that, that place for me where rubber hits the road. And I realized that when you don't trust your gut in this work, we're laying it out on the line every single time we're out there. That's what happened. And so I made a deal with Thunder that night that he will never, ever be haltered and brought into a situation. He has choice. All of my horses from that moment forward. And even then, we always worked at probably an 80% liberty model. Okay. But that place of, until they step up, they are never haltered. And the moment, if they do get haltered, they've stepped up. The moment they show that this is no longer an environment that they're willing to work at or comfortable working at, they're set free and set to go. And I'll tell you, what's been interesting is this boy teaches trust, and it's more often trust where trust has been broken. And from this place where he now knows he can trust me at the highest possible level to never be put into a situation. And again, I think a lot of people wouldn't even have noticed that there was a situation, but it's that place of a gut. He steps up more and more and more. He's stepping up for harder and harder things, bigger and bigger things, but he does it because he knows he's been able to rebuild that trust, his broken place of knowing that he will never be put into a situation that is not his zone of genius, and where he cannot get out of. So Jess, I think that's my story of Thunder.
Thank you so much. And it's, being vulnerable there in a time that you didn't trust your gut, and it did result in colic, but it's how we learn, it's how we move forward, it's how we realize that these things are so important to do in stewarding your herd. So thank you so much, Tamara, for jumping on and sharing that. So these are the 3 steps that I'm going to go through next on how you can ensure that you are stewarding your herd and raising the bar in our industry. So the first bit, are you working in your niche? And you've heard us talk about niche before, but I'm going to break it down into 3 different aspects. And when we're talking about niche, we're also looking for that congruence piece. So we're going to start with the easy one. Are you working with your niche client? How are you showing up? your horses know you better than anyone else. And if you're not in your zone of genius, how can you expect them to step into theirs? So a good example of this is if you were working with really young kids, say like 5 and under with your horses, and you know in your gut that you would prefer to be working with adults with eating disorders, for example. That is a real incongruence of, and a real difference of niche client that you're going to be working with. So really getting clear on the clients that are your people, you're one step ahead of where you were just been. We've done tons of videos on niche too. So if you wanted to dig deeper in that, just look back through the round pen, because niche is something we could spend all day talking about, but really looking at your niche client and how you're showing up with them clients. Is that where you want to be? Is that where your horse wants to be? Next is going to be, is this your niche client for your horse? So is this an adult horse that has not ever been around young kids working with kids? Huge incongruence there. Another piece with horses is your own skills and experience with horses and the horses that you've got in your herd. So I know we have some counselors, therapists, that's their main designation, and who work with equine specialists that have all the horse experience. So are your horses really, really broke, and that matches your experience level with horses versus myself, for example. I work with horses that are projects. They come off the meat truck and into my pasture, and I work with them right away because I have the experience. That's what I know, that's what I do. So so again, niche client, niche horse, matching it with your experience, your horse's niche client, what their experience is with the horse, with the clients that you're using them with. So yeah, and really that comes down to you. You are the only one in control of this, the horses that you own, the clients that show up, and the work that you agree to take on. So I always like to think of this as, if you notice a change in your horse's character, start with yourself, start looking at the decisions you're making and who you're working with, and really reflect on that, spend some time in it, and really watch those nonverbal cues. So first point, reflect on yourself, how you're showing up. Are you working in your niche client with your niche horse? The second piece, do you allow your horse a choice? So this one really comes down to trust. And there's always many different sides of trust. Are you allowing your horse to choose? It always magnifies the impact of a session for both the horse and the client. You are a facilitator of the nonverbal communication that's happening in front of you, and the horses are always the gurus. So if you, and I'd love to see this in the chat, how many of us truly trust our horses? Do you step in an open pasture with your horses and have the belief that however your horses show up is exactly how they're supposed to show up, without any fear of, oh my gosh, no one's gonna, or my horse is gonna run away, or no one's gonna step up, what do I do, right? Does anyone completely trust their horses and allow them a choice in how they show up? I'm going to give it a minute here because I really am curious to know. I know our facilities can kind of impact this. Yep, Tamara, the more I allow and trust them, the more and quicker they show up. Absolutely. I can see a few people type in here too, so I'll give it a minute. Amanda, my current experiences with special needs and my horses are very comfortable with them and adjust his temperament accordingly. That's perfect. That's a prime example of a niche horse, like you and the horse's experience working with your niche client. That's perfect. I did see you make a comment earlier, Amanda. I do see this. I'm assuming you're talking about the same gelding. and keeping an eye on his arthritis as well, giving him a choice rather than he's your best horse, so you're going to use him all the time with your niche client. Crystal, I don't have my own herd, but interests in everyone else's comments for sure. And I am going to touch on that later, Crystal, too. Like, I understand that not everyone has their own herd and facility, and how we can still apply this in the horses that we work with. I also have a herd, but I also work with other people's horses too, and have these same principles. I trust them 100%. I give them a choice and they always show up. That's perfect. That's what we're here to talk about and really, really instill in our businesses. I have several rescues. There is one that I actually stepped up last week and amazed us for sure. I actually have a really good story about this. As you know, I have lots of projects in my herd, and I had a lady show up. We were working on her mental health, and we step out into the herd, we get present, and one horse very clearly steps up and actually pushes 2 other horses away, that was an out of character move, but I was present and aware and could feel that he was on a mission here. So I give him the choice. I give the client the choice as well. And I do have to mention, she also had a hip replacement. So part of me was like, I need to be really extra careful here in who she steps up and works with. And this gelding that stepped up was, he's really high anxiety and really jumps to flight if anything was to happen. So taking all safety measures into account, I allowed them to work together, and they both met anxiously together, and he circled her. But it was in this moment of her being present and working with the horse in front of her, she was actually able to calm him down. And in that, they both reflected this really calm and relaxed state, where at the end of the session, he was very level-headed, licking and chewing, and they were really, really calm. And that was a mind-blowing session to me. And it's a story I often tell, how this horse changed her life, because when she left my place, anytime she felt that anxiety kind of picking up, she just imagined the horse circling her, like that was her anxiety. And she remembered how she calmed him down, and that in effect calmed her down. And I'm still in touch with her today, and it's still something that she really grounds herself through. But I often think back, if I had said, oh no, you can't work with this horse, he's kind of flighty, not a good combination for you to start, that would never have happened. Or maybe I chose the bomb-proof horse that wouldn't react to her anxiety, so she could. So allowing your horse in choice and being present, meaning you're not worrying about the past or worrying about the future, and just becoming aware and allowing your horses to step up, can have a huge impact on people's lives. Amanda, I have an ABC plan which allows the horse to choose, etc. Perfect. Liz, I am a rescue from Slaughter Farm, and my 15 horses are amazing. I ask them every morning if they want to take part. When the clients come, I ask which one they would like to step up. Yeah. Yeah, and that kind of reminds me too, like giving your clients some choice in all of this. I always like to reflect on that and think about when we walk into a herd of horses, there's always one that steps out, and that you'll always try 100 times harder for that one that you feel that you have a connection with, versus one that's been chosen for you. So there's so much power in choice. And going back to, do you choose your horses to step up and be able to handle it if they don't? I've had so many great conversations with clients when horses don't choose to step up. There's always something there, and trusting that your horses are picking up off of that and going with that conversation and being vulnerable in it will really, again, elevate your sessions, elevate the industry as well. So allow your horse a choice and trust them in the process. So the third point is, when we're working with horses and we can sense a change in character, we've gone through, are you working in your niche as a whole? Are you allowing them the choice? And there's still something out there. So now we seek to understand. And sure, we could just accept, oh, they're not what they used to be, sell them and move on. But that is not going to elevate the bar in the industry. I see horse adverts all the time, done this, and it's not going to elevate the bar in the industry if we just sell a horse when we run into something like that. Sometimes not stepping up is the lesson itself. Yeah, absolutely, there's 100%. Oh, how do I go back? There we go. So when you seek to understand and advocate for your horses, if there has been a change in their character, has there been a traumatic event? Was there an incident in their past that caused them to act this way, or a new incident that occurred from a session? Do you have the skills to bring them back? So have you trained horses before? Have you rehabbed a horse before from something like that? Another question that I always kind of ask is, are they in pain? So we work with herd animals that are prey animals, and we work with them in this space to get a true reflection of what's going on in their environment. We rely on them to reflect back what's going on. If a horse is in pain, they're not going to authentically reflect back who they're working with. There's a huge barrier where they're reacting on a pain in their bodies, which is really going to disrupt sessions, clients, and it honestly is a huge problem if it doesn't get addressed. So bring in your team. There are so many different types of therapies that are out there for horses these days. A vet, the most professional you can get, especially if they're qualified specifically with horses, is a really good place to start. I often get my horses annual vet check once a year. That's how I steward them. They're really important, and to make sure that their health is 100% is very important in my business, in my family, and across the board. Farriers, I'm sure we've all heard this saying, if your horse doesn't have a hoot, you don't have a horse. So farriers are a number one too. Really important to bring them in regularly, keep your horse's feet good. Chiro, equine massage, depending on your experience, bring in a trainer or a coach or a friend, even if you don't go along with them, just to get that second opinion, to see what they think is going on. But really advocate for your horses and seek to understand what's going on with them in your business. So those are the three main points that everyone should kind of look at when working with horses. And Crystal, this is something that you can look at as well. You might not own the horse, but they are still your main business, and you can find a way to do this, even if they're not your horses. Same for me when I work with clients and their own horses. This is still things that I can do. Kimberly, I have a Beamer mat, regular use, never miss a trim, and a yearly vet check on my mainstays. Yeah, Beamers is a infrared technology, I believe, to do with inflammation. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so there's so many different things out there, and research. Like we have the internet, and it has so many amazing places to learn and investigate further what's going on with your horse. Liz, I'm a believer of clearing your horse after every session is key. Some people don't think of this, and horses they do carry other stuff. Absolutely, Liz. There's many ways that you can do this. I would be really interested, Liz, if you could share it in the round pen, how you do that. Crystals, essential oils, absolutely. Make a post in the round pen, Liz. I'm sure that would be really interesting for people to know how you clear your horses after each session. I know a really important thing for me is, and Tamara as well, we use chalk pens, right? Don't leave that on them. Brush all of those words away after every session. That's a number one rule here. I will and can do a video on it for you as well. Perfect. Thank you, Liz. Tuning forks, essential oils at the start and end of sessions, right? We're working with energy a lot of the time. Horses are really sensitive. So it's really important that you do your research, find a way, a proven way, or a way that you believe that can clear your horse of whatever they went through in those sessions. Magnetic blankets, energy work as well. Yeah. There's many ways out there, and it's really important that you put thought to that in your horse's well-being after sessions, in all that they go through. Some of us work with really traumatic things, and that are brought up in sessions. So it's imperative that we look to make sure that our horses are okay after each session, because, as you know, stress can come out physically in our horses, and depending on their nature, they may or may not show it. Which kind of brings me back to Belle at the start. She ended up having ulcers, and those left untreated can lead to more serious things. And so I really took a step back when she's with clients now, and sometimes she would take 2 steps away from a client before they were able to halter her, and very, very small steps. But that is her saying, no, not today, not today, just 2 steps, right? Really easy to miss as well. So really tune in to those subtle nonverbal cues when you're working with horses in sessions, when you allow choice.
Jess, can I pipe up for a sec?
Absolutely, Tamara.
My typing's happening slow here. So I love that everybody has something different that they do, but everybody's doing something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like preaching to the choir in the round pen. The people who show up are the ones who buy into stewardship or buy into, all of these pieces. And so one thing, as Jess said, always, wiping those words off. But one thing I find is time. Giving them time and space. And so I know our facility is slam full, and yes, could you say, let's push sessions closer together and do more sessions? Sure. But is that stewarding your horses? Absolutely not. And so 2 things for us. Number 1 is making sure that there is a good amount of time in between sessions and time off. I think that's a big one, right? We don't talk about time off. But the other one, and this comes up more and more and more in our facility, is our horses continue to hold space. If you notice, because sometimes you'll be walking back in or whatever, and your mind's going through what just happened, and you're out of the present going a mile a minute. And if you look up, I know for myself here, oftentimes I will notice that the horse that was really working is still holding space. They're still standing still. And I always look at that as 2, and again, this is following your gut. Sometimes they're holding the space for me. And sometimes they're realizing that, wow, that was a really, there was so much to process in that, and they're holding space for me. And sometimes I truly believe that they're waiting for me to hold space for them, and so that they're still processing through. And so, but that takes present moment. That takes right here, right now, realizing that we can't just rush into the next and staying present. And so, when they're still standing, when they're not going back eating, when they're not back with their herd, and they could be, just understanding that there is some holding space there to happen, and for however long that takes, and if you've got another client coming in half an hour, you can't do that. And so for us anyways, that's a really big piece, is having that. And the more time I give and the more I notice it, the more I'm finding that it happens all the time. And so again, it's that double place. And how I hold space for them is getting into a place of full mindlessness where I have nothing in my mind. I'm dead still. I have nothing going on. And from that place, I can clear myself. But from that place, you can also help your horse clear what's going on for them.
100%. Thank you, Tamara. It's such a great point, that whole piece of holding space and how we can do that for our herd too. Okay, so we're gonna go through a couple of things on how to apply this in your facilitation. Many of you heard of us speak about the 4 pillars in how we facilitate. So we start off by getting present. When we enter the present, we enter the same space that horses live in. And it's in this moment of presence where we have this ability to become aware. When we become aware, we are able to notice things, the subtleties, the nonverbal communication, how our horses are stepping up, how they're holding space. And once we are aware of these things, we can allow our horses the day off. We can allow flexibility and use a different horse. We can allow horses step up that we didn't think would step up, because we're present and aware. And once you have those 3 pieces, trust the process, trust yourself in the skills that you've got, trust your client, trust the niche that you're working with. And once we can have all of these 4 pillars ebbing and flowing in our sessions, it is going to help, again, raise the bar in what we do and get your horses to a point where they love what they do and thrive in it as well. Exercises. So you'll often, again, you'll hear us say tools for your back pocket. And why are we doing tools for our back pocket instead of picking an exercise and going with it no matter what? So flexibility is key here. Don't take your horses for granted. And what I mean by that is, as horse owners or people that work with horses all the time, being out in a herd of horses is nothing, right? Like, it's easy for us to just be like, oh yeah, we're at the horses, and carry on and do all of the things. But for people that live in the city, or your niche client, mine are youths at risk living in group homes, being out in fresh air with a herd of horses is powerful within itself, which leads me to the next point is simple has impact. Don't feel the need to have this whole elaborate obstacle course of things to do when your client shows up immediately. Allow things to be simple. Remember that just this setting alone has an incredible impact on your clients. So having tools in your back pocket, if you have a couple of ideas on exercises that you can do that can apply and give you flexibility to any situation, it allows your session to go where it's meant to go. It allows your horse to be the guru and lead the session on where it's meant to go. So again, if you've had all of our exercises, we've put them in the round pen and shared, all of our exercises allow you the ability to do this. And I always empower people with the calls that I've had. You're not a therapist. Your horse provides incredible therapy, right? It's not on you to ask all of these questions and get them talking about everything that's happened. It's the partnership between the client and the horse that they're there for. You simply stand back, allow your horse, and pick up on the subtle cues in helping them read the nonverbal communication too. And we're going to give you some tools for your back pocket today as well. So another way you can think of this is in your facility. It's all in the setup. Are your horses living in a herd, or are they living 24 hours a day in a stall? You know, we rely on our horses to be herd animals, to have that social hierarchy that they have in herds. And when we look at leadership, or middle of the herd or bottom of the herd, it's really powerful for clients to see that. And if your horses aren't living in a, you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, but take accountability on how your horses are living and understand how that is going to impact sessions as well, because you're relying on them to be a herd animal. Do you have a large space to work in? So I often, like, my favorite place to work is right out in a large open pasture, right? A choice at its ultimate. Or do you, I know some people have arenas, indoor spaces. Really look at the space that you work in and challenge yourself to think beyond that. I know many of us often pick facilities or board. Are there creative ways you can do to allow the most amount of space for your horses to work in? And trust them that they'll show up. Do you have privacy and peace? You know, those are things that can affect your environment and in your sessions and your horses too. If there's lots going on, I've been to many arenas that are indoors in the wintertime. There are so many people there as well. So that can also impact sessions, impact your horse's sense of peace. And can any horse choose to step up? I spoke to some people that may have to divide the mares and geldings, for example. Really think about the setup in your facility, how you can get creative with the space that you've got to allow your horse the best chance at choice and working in a way that they are meant to work. So horses don't lie. I'm going to bring Tamara in again here to kind of recap everything that we've been over. And horses don't lie. We all know this. Okay, Tamara.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. So yeah, this is just really a recap, but this is the thing, because I get the question all the time. Something's going on with my horse. What can I do next? Right. And so I always say, I know there's 4 things written down, but my go-to is really 3 things. So number 1, are the people you're working with your niche, or are you working with them only because they're bringing in money? What do I mean by that? We've all had it in our lives, maybe not in this work, where you're either going to a job you no longer truly enjoy, and so you can feel that resistance in yourself, or you're walking down to your pasture. And I talk to horse facilitators all the time who say, this is the work I wanted to do. I love working with horses. I know the power of the herd, and it's this, everybody else is seeing success. All of my clients love what we do. The parents love what they do, but I have this resistance going down. And I'll tell you, that little bit of resistance is your zone of excellence. It's the level of success. But here's the thing, you hear me say this all the time. There's a level beyond success, and it's called significance. And again, in success, you're wondering, why do I have this little bit of hesitation? Why do I have this but where I'm just not fully thrilled at what I'm doing, although I'm working with horses, although we're out in the pasture, although the clients are getting great results? It's because you're not in your niche. Okay, so you're working at success, you're not at significance. When you're not working in your niche, you walk out with resistance. You walk out incongruent. And it's the incongruencies or congruencies that horses work with. That's what we work with. That's why we work with horses and not with dogs or another animal that have therapeutic value, right? And so number 1, really gut check yourself. If your horses aren't stepping up, they're reflecting, they're not happy anymore. Number 1, gut check yourself. What is the mirror that you're putting off in a session? And this is, again, holding yourself on the bar to a very high level. In that same question, is this your horse's niche? Okay, so again, back to the story of Thunder. And Thunder, as we allow him, he's moving over a bit, but his niche was definitely not working, with high things. He's not the one who's going to step up on huge boundary issues. He's not going to step up with the women from the safe house. That's not his thing. So dragging him in there and making him do it would be, he would be reflecting that back. Okay. I also have horses that absolutely hate working with children. They hate it. They'll stand there and they would put up with it. Is that fair? Is that stewarding your horses to a high level? Absolutely not. And so do I bring them and allow, we work as a herd. So I allow them to step up if they want to, but I know they're never going to. They're never going to. So putting them through a children's program, they're going to start reflecting back to me. So the question I always have is, are we doing this session because we need to make money? Or are we doing this session because I feel like I'm cooking with gas? I'm exactly in my niche. I love it. And the horses are thrilled to work in this niche. So it's not just your niche, it's your niche and it's their niche. So that's step number 1. If you're having horses that aren't stepping up. Number 2, are you truly allowing them to work in choice? So are you truly allowing them to step up if they want or step out if they want? Okay. And you know the answer to that, right? Again, that's a gut check. You know if they're truly in choice. And number 3, Jess mentioned this, but are they in pain? So when you have a herd that works, and I understand, I mean, I have a big ranch too, and it costs a lot of money to keep it running. But here's the thing, without the horses, you don't have a business. Your horses are making money. And I believe every horse should be stewarded to the top. But your horse making money, if they, they need professionals. I'm not a vet. I've not been to vet school. I'm not a farrier. I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not, and again, I'm not an energy worker. I'm not a psychic. There's all of these things. And you put into your toolkit what's, relative to you and what you believe in. But are they in pain is something that should never be knocked off the list. And so like Jessica said, she just does routine checkups once a year. That's her thing. But whatever it is for you, understanding that they are working animals, and to be able to properly reflect congruence or incongruence is so important, that they are at their healthiest. And I truly believe their healthiest starts mental, like all of us. So the mental state of working where they should be working. Number 2, are they working in choice? And number 3, if both of those are dead on accurate, they're definitely allowed choice, they're definitely working where they love, are they in pain, and getting the professionals into that space. So and what the more, and just when I think we can't allow them anymore, we find something else and they step up again and they step up again. And so for those of you that have that fear of, if I allow them to work in choice, they won't step up, when you truly trust and you truly allow them to from a present place, I have more horses stepping up, and I literally have to pull some back out for safety, because they love this work. When we allow them to work with who they should be, they're in that level beyond success, and they're insignificant. And I'll tell you, that's where they absolutely love what they do. So Jess, I'll hand it back to you. And then I know we're getting to the last few slides. So when we get to the end, if your name is not on beside your name, pop it in. I can see all the names, but if you've got an iPhone or something like that, pop it in, because I'm going to try to do spin at the end. So I'll pass it back over. But again, empower yourself to empower your herd. You will be mind blown at where they step up and what they do. Go ahead, Jess.
Thank you, Tamara. Okay, so this is what we're going to be giving away today. And it's kind of a little bit different than the last few weeks that we have done this, because this really is about you. It's a checklist that's kind of summarized over some of the things we've gone over today and more, and a brainstorming sheet on how you can stop doing some things, do less of some things, keep doing and do more of. So really challenge yourself to look at your business, look who you work with, and brainstorm to see if that you can steward your herd to the highest possible level, and lean into those conversations with professionals on how exactly you do that. And we're also giving away a one-pager on the 4 pillars, just as a reminder to what you can not only do in your sessions, in your exercises you choose, but even in how you run your business. I use this model all the time, even in the decisions that I have to make. So we are going to upload this to the Files tab in the Round Pen, but it won't be there forever. So make sure that you go in there and download it. Kimberly, you have a question. Did you want to come off mute?
Yeah, I'm trying to work my phone here. I wanted to just say that a resource that I utilized when I first started doing this work, I was going to rehab horses, and the curriculum was really expensive, but I reached out to the facilitator and I hosted her. And so I got my certification for body unwinding and chiropractic for free. So that might be something. And April Battles is who I went through. She's got a ton of YouTubes. She's really great, but I did get certified in body unwinding and chiropractic for free because I hosted her and I hosted her clinic. So I just thought I'd throw that in there as maybe an idea. If somebody's looking for something that might cost a lot of money, I found a way to do it for free. So I thought I'd just kind of share that.
Thanks, Kim. There's always a way that we can grow in ourselves in the way that we want and take on things like that. If Kim is a wildie, she's one of our group experts, and I really appreciate you popping on to say that. If you can follow up in the Round Pen with a post on that and some more information, that would be great. Thanks again. Yeah, there's so much we can learn. We can never stop learning, and doing courses like this in stewarding your herd and how the best way you can look after them is awesome. So again, we will upload these to the Files tab in the Round Pen. Go in there and download them because they won't be there forever. So I wanted to end on this quote. The technique we use with our horses isn't nearly as important as the kind of heart we put behind it. And I wanted to put that with one of my favorite horses doing one of my favorite things. So this is one of my heart horses from years ago, doing eventing. That's what I absolutely love to do, thrive to do it, but we're not all eventers. We're not even all competitive in that way. It's the heart that you have behind what you do, with the horses that you have, that really shines through in all of this. And our exercises, our 4 pillars, really allow you to do that in how you run your business, how you run your sessions, and most importantly in this one, how you steward your herd. So thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, Mark Rashid has got so many books. Most of them are actually free on Audible as an audio book. Again, you can never stop learning about what we do. Recommend that guy. Horses Don't Lie. But yes, it is so important to, again, elevate our industry in stewardship of our horses. We are going to do the next round pen live on July 17th, which is 5 weeks from today. We had to toggle things around a bit to fit the summer schedule. So from July 17th, it will be every 5 weeks. The same link, same place, same time, 1 p.m. MST. And Tamara, I don't know if you wanted to add anything before we go here. Oh, yes, the spin wheel.
I was going to say, am I able to do this?
Yeah.
So, all right, is it already spinning? Okay, so we are spinning for either a 1-hour mentorship with either Jessica or I, or the Equine Communication Series, which is a certificate program. So if you win, simply message myself or Jess and we'll make it happen. So I think it's spinning. I've never done this. This is my zone of incompetence. But we have a winner. Lynn. So this is not Lynn Lavalle, because there was 2. So this is just Lynn came up. So congratulations, Lynn. Go ahead, get a hold of either myself or Jess, and we'll get you either the 1-hour mentorship or the Equine Communication Series. So I'm going to stop sharing and close up. So thank you everybody for showing up. Like I said, the ones that show up are always the ones that are already, I'm sure, are stewarding your horses to the highest level. And I think that the big piece here is raising the bar in our industry, you know, and Jessica kind of touched on it lightly. But honestly, every time I meet with a vet, a farrier, or anything, I never hear good things about our industry. And that's pretty sad in the horses they see coming from this. Okay. And so it's never the friends that pat you on the back and tell you you're doing a great job. It's the ones that kick you in the ass that move you forward, right? And so kick your friends in the ass. If they're in this business, right? Are they stewarding for the horses to the highest level? And so often it's, you got to slow it down to speed it up, right? It's not the big things. It's not the egregious things that we think of when we think of not stewarding. You know, we're not talking about not feeding horses. We're not talking about those things, right? It's that there's a whole level. There's a whole higher level when it comes to stewarding. And so again, I'm sure that the ones on, everybody's got some really, really cool things that you're doing. And we just touched on some, right? And so slow it down to speed it up, kick your friends in the ass if they're not doing that. And let's, as a group, because that's what the round pen is about. It's about a movement of people who take this to a high level. Because I hear all the time, it's unregulated in my country. Guess what? This work's unregulated in every country. Okay. And so it's up to us, all of us in the round pen, to say, you know, we are a profession and we are all together going to raise the bar. This is not Jess and I. When we talk about professional facilitators inspiring change, we are all the professional facilitators and we all get to step up to that high level. And so always remember, there's a level beyond success. It's called significance and it's waiting for you. So thanks everyone for showing up. It'll be 5 weeks from today, and then it'll actually be 4 weeks from there. So I think Jess had said 5, but just to keep it on schedule. So thank you so much for showing up. And I'm going to give you a call to action in the round pen. I'd love you to get in there and make a note either on your biggest takeaway or what you find in stewarding your herd, because we can all learn from each other. What's the biggest thing that has made a difference in your herd, either with your clients, with the horses, whatever that is, that you can help share to raise the bar. So thanks everybody for showing up. We'll get the recording out. But whatever you're doing, have a fantastic day. Bye everyone.
Bye.